folks, I'm Lucy at Ballyhoo Creations, and this is the fourth video in the beginner series for machine embroidery. We're going to talk about how to position a design so it stitches where you want it. It sounds simple, but if you've already tried it, you know it can be pretty frustrating. There are two kinds of templates, and it's not always clear which ones people are talking about when we talk about machine embroidery templates. First, there are plastic ruler templates that fit inside of your hoops. These should come with your machine. If you don't have them, don't worry too much about it. You can still use the little marks on your hoops that show the center lines. Here's the vertical center, here's the horizontal center, and then this plastic template just shows where that is. The second kind of template is a paper template. You print this out for the design you've chosen, and a good embroidery site will include these templates usually as a PDF file with your downloaded designs. You print the design template on paper and make sure you don't resize it. You want it to print at 100% scale or 1:1 size, so the paper printout is the exact size of the stitch design. I'm going to cut out my design with this paper template, just give you a general idea, and make sure that you can see the center, the vertical and the horizontal center lines on your design. If you need to try on the shirt that you're going to put your design on, you can always hold it up and see where you want to place it. Make sure that you get it straight. Just play around with it. You could put it up on a chest. That would be kind of weird with a large design somewhere in the middle. You put it wherever you want it. It's your project. And then I'm going to place mine somewhere around this area. Generally on a sweatshirt or a t-shirt about 3 inches down from a crew neck is a good guideline for a design like this in the middle. If you're doing a left chest logo, you would do it about 7 inches, but it depends on, male, female. So go online and look at different rulers or charts that give you different ideas of measurements so you can get an idea of where you need to place your design. And I forgot to mention, once you get your design where you want it, you can use a pin just very carefully. Go ahead and pin it on so that you get a general idea. Like that. I feel like a kindergartner coming home with a note pinned to me. I'm probably dating myself. And then I'll carefully take this off and not get that pin in my face, and then we'll move on. Now that I know where I want my design on my sweatshirt, I'm going to go ahead and get the center marking. So I'm going to measure from seam to seam across, and I know that my center is 10.5, so I've marked a little line here, and then I also marked another one down, again, side seam to side seam, and I marked it right down here towards the bottom of where that design is going to be. And I know that when I tried it on, I wanted it to be right in this general area, so I'm also going to go ahead and mark where these horizontal crosshairs are. I'll show you here on the paper. It goes across like this, and these lines here, because those are going to match up with the markings on my hoop. You can see here my hoop has markings at these center lines, so when I hoop it, I want to make sure that those are going to match up. I'll get to that in just a minute. Now that I have my points, I'm going to go ahead and mark them, and this is not a regular ink pen. I talked about this in the supplies video. This is a heat erasable ballpoint pen. You can use any kind of fabric marker for this, just something that's going to come off. You could use chalk or whatever you like to use on fabric that comes out. I like these because when you put a hot iron on them, the ink comes out really easily. So this is going to be the center of my design, and then I've got all of my center lines, so we're good to go on that. I'm going to show you the traditional way of hooping using this scrap of fabric, and I've got my template, I've got marks at the vertical and horizontal lines here, and I went ahead and used a ruler to just continue those out. And what I'm going to do is line those marks up with these little guides inside my hoop. See, there's the little arrows like that. That's pretty close. My lines are not actually straight. I made a mistake on my angle. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pinch right here. So take this fabric on either side, these little wings here, and I'm going to fold those up and hold it really tight, and that will keep the fabric in the hoop. I've already got my outer hoop ready, and I'm going to just set it in there and push it down. And that was pretty simple. Now, if you're doing something like flat like this isn't a pretty easy method to do, but if you're doing garments that have a lot of excess fabric around, those can get more difficult. So I'm going to show you something for that. It's called the tape trick. For the tape trick, what I've done is I've got my inner and outer hoop here, and on my inner hoop, on the outside of it, I've got double stick tape. This is called hoop tape, and you run it all the way around your hoop. Depending on how thick your hoop is, you can get 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch hoop tape. I'll link to where you can get this stuff in the description box below. But what that does is it makes your hoop really sticky. And then when we line up our design, where our crosshairs are that we put on there, just take your time and get it all lined up. And now what we do, just hold that in place and fold the fabric up. I don't have much excess here, but you just fold the fabric up and it gets caught on that sticky tape. And this way, if you have like a shirt or something that has a lot of bulkiness, a lot of excess fabric around the edges, this will hold it in place because you can just pick this up and it's going to stay where you put it. Oftentimes you'd have your stabilizer actually fused onto your garment like a t-shirt or something. You would fuse it onto the t-shirt. And then you can just pop that into your hoop like that, and you got it hooped. Now, I wasn't careful, and when I taped the sides, I didn't get it exactly. But that's okay, because if you get it over to your machine, you have a little button that will rotate your design, and you can always just rotate it a few degrees if your machine will do that. Or reposition up or down, side to side, so you can correct small mistakes on most machines doing that. Although some of the machines, like I have an older one, it only does like 90-degree rotation, so not all of them can handle a small fraction of a change. So that was the tape trick. Much easier, but again, if you're doing something very simple, you don't even need the tape. Just hold it in place and pop it in there. But if you have something really bulky around the edge, that tape really comes in handy. Just be careful that you don't use any kind of double stick tape, because it will stick to your hoop or it will leave a residue on your fabric or your project, and you don't want that. So do make sure you have a tape that is made for embroidery hoops. Okay, I've got my sticky stabilizer hooped in a 5x7 hoop to fit my design, and I've also got a layer of no-show mesh on the bottom just to make sure that I have plenty of stabilizer for this stretchy fabric. And because it's a fleece, I'm going to go ahead and put a topper on top of it as well. But to get it in the hoop in the correct position, here's what I will do. I'm going to turn this shirt inside out, and I can see down in there where my markings are. I'm going to fold it in half, which should be right on my marking. Okay, and then I've got down in there and found the center point of my mark. I'm just going to put my finger on it, and that's going to go in the center like that. And I can even see it, so I've got kind of an advantage here. I can see it on the inside, but I know that my shirt's folded in half. Okay, and that should be where I want it. I'm gonna go ahead and fold it over and make sure that there are no creases in there, and just push it down onto that sticky stabilizer. And now we're not ready yet, because this is the wrong side of the back, and we don't want to embroider that. We want the right side of the front. So go ahead and turn it right side, just kind of scooch that open, and then we will use some clips. Now see how my fabric has stretched? This is not good, because this is going to mess up my design. So I'm going to have to kind of reposition this a little bit just in the center. And I think we're going to be okay there. That is one of the downsides of sticky stabilizer, is sometimes your stretchy fabric can get a little pulled. Now I'm going to use a clip to keep my excess fabric, and I just use hair clips to keep that up and out of the way. And I should be able to get it on my machine like this. I'm going to take this over to the embroidery machine, and if you want, you can always double check to see where the mark, the center line is, and make sure that it's still lining up. It's all stitched out. I've put it on. It's right in the center. I love it. might be wondering, hey Lucy, I see people on YouTube throwing around big magnetic rings. Isn't that the best way to position your embroidery? There are many different hooping aids that you can buy to help position your designs. The Mighty Hoop system is really cool, but it's expensive and those hoops don't fit all the machines. There are other hooping stations like the Echidna hooping station, which can work with any type of machine hoop. But there are also rulers and placement guides and other gadgets to help you hold the hoop still while you put things together. If you plan on embroidering a lot of items that need perfect placement, then you might want to invest in a hooping station to make things faster and easier. I don't use them because I rarely stitch on clothing. Most of my embroidery is in the hoop projects, so hooping station doesn't make sense for me. But for other people, they swear by these hooping aids because it saves lots of time and frustration. After some practice, if you find you hate hooping, you might consider adding some kind of hooping aid to your embroidery work area. Just make sure you've got room for it. That covers it for embroidery placement, and this is the last video for the beginner basics. Now we're going to step it up a notch into the next videos and get into some more advanced topics so you can customize your embroidery and learn how to embroider on almost any fabric. Check the description box below to find links to those videos when they become available. See you later.